Hi, people. Sorry I'm late. I had a loan crisis. Literally had a client signing, had questions that, what's crazy for me, like doing this job, and I don't want to sound judgmental because sometimes it's like Lizzie after hours, it's late, and I get that like not one human alive lives their life to one, understand their mortgage and or to qualify for their mortgage. But I will tell you that it is so super important for you to review and ask your questions before your closing date. And what confuses me is that, at least my team, we try to do a good job of like updating everyone twice a week throughout their loan process. We have detailed pre-approval calls where we send out recap emails because this is a common occurrence, guys. And I get that like so much information just flows through a client, but there is a reason that they send the closing disclosure statement 3 days before your closing, and it's so that you have the chance to review it and ask all your questions. And so apologize that I'm late. I was dealing with a client emergency. The client is happy, just in case people are wanting to know. But I'm still a loan officer first and a YouTuber by night. This is my second gig. So welcome back, everyone. We have a couple of people that are regulars. We got Rod and Laura from Michigan. Love that you're back. We got Abe and Junior. We got, oh my God, the Julie Calza. So if you know anything about Luke Air Force Base, you know that this girl like dominates the VA market here in Phoenix. She's amazing. She is on here in case you guys have any VA questions. We have Miguel Rivera, Jen Delaney, Yanni, Noemi. One of my absolute favorite escrow officers ever, by the way, in case you need a new escrow officer. So happy you guys. Get your questions in here. For those of you who are wondering, this is my gal pal, Claudia. Funny story about Claudia. She's also known as Lupita. So what happens to us, and I know I'm like the world's whitest Mexican, but what happens to me and my Mexican friends is sometimes we have to change our names because people can't pronounce Lupita. They're like, Lupita.
La Quinta, like the hotel. That's when I was like, okay, I'm using my middle name, Claudia. La Quinta.
So I met her as Claudia, and then quickly would get calls and they're like, Lupita referred me, and I'm like, Lupita? Who is that? So this is Lupita Claudia Jorgensen, and she's my real estate agent friend. She works the entire valley, but she works Casa Grande, which I believe is going to be the next big city here in Phoenix. And so I asked her to come on board, one, because I love her to death, and I thought we'd have a really fun dynamic answering questions. But yeah, so I'm super pumped, guys. So get your questions in here. Okay, so just to give you guys a quick recap on some news you're going to be seeing. Last week was no fun for interest rates. It was felt like every single day we got a price worsening. Today was pretty good actually though, and so was yesterday. So like I said, and I just want to remind people about what's happening with interest rates, is that it is extremely volatile depending on what kind of news you're going to be hearing. So last week had a lot to do with inflation, and we got positive employment numbers. This week, it's all about housing starts. So a couple things, and these things should not surprise you, but housing starts fell again. And so housing starts are new houses that they're building. And we've literally gotten news for several months, literally since May of this year, that new home builds are being more and more so delayed, and that's because of labor, lumber, supply chain, you name it. There just aren't quite enough people to construct the houses for the demand, and so that fell. And then also we got single family. Hold on. There was another number. But we got housing permits are up by 4%. So even though the new houses that they have started have dropped, new permits are up 4%, which means, guys, that housing inventory is still going up, which is good news for people who have gotten buyer fatigue. Also, we've had the recent news that Zillow is no longer, doing their iBuying program, which gives you one less corporate buyer to take away from your ability to purchase. So this is a great time also, I think, to purchase just because of the holiday season. You have less competition because, quite frankly, people have other things to do. right? So they're, visiting with family, they're Christmas shopping, they're distracted. So again, another really great opportunity to, go out looking at homes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what are your thoughts just in general, Casa Grande, the holiday season, like what's going on with the world?
So Casa Grande, I think you're totally right. It's definitely expanding. It's growing. There are more homes on the market out there. There are definitely new builds out there. It kind of slowed down, but again, you're right. There's a lot of building permits being approved. And so I think that's the way to go. There's new warehouses coming up. There's Lucid Motors. It's definitely expanding in Casa Grande. So like I've been saying this for maybe 4 years now. If you're going to invest, go south, go to Casa Grande. Sometimes, it's a little bit further out, but you're going to get more house for your money. And eventually, it's already growing. It's expanding.
You know what's so crazy, guys? So I am from Nogales, Arizona, which is 2.5 hours south of Phoenix. Okay. That's a fairly small town. And I remember driving through Casa Grande and thinking, like, you would just see the tumbleweeds. You know what I mean? There was like the Dairy Queen by Picacho Peak. And then you would see the outlet malls and like nothing.
Nothing else.
Literally nothing. In the time that I have lived here, which is now like 20 years, not to date myself. But it's cool. Like now you see all this development. It's way surpassed Nogales. There's a mall. There's also the outlets, but there's literally tons of infrastructure. I think they were talking at one time about building a theme park.
Yep.
Lots of corporate infrastructure is growing there. And so it's cool to see, another new city emerging.
Right.
And that's actually happening for lots of different states, guys. Super important to talk to local real estate agents about getting this information, right? So you know exactly where to buy. Okay.
Right.
All right. So let's get to some questions. Okay. So Junior said he made an offer on a townhome with leased lands. Your answer made my decision a lot easier. Okay, so for those of you guys who were not here for last week's live, buying a property with leased land is tricky, just so you know, because you have multiple approvals, okay? So sometimes you have to get the condo approved in addition to the land lease, but it does make the property less expensive and more affordable for you to buy. So I'm super pumped for you. Hope you get your offer accepted. Congratulations, Junior. And then we have, Noemi, you're so supportive. I love you, girlfriend. Okay, then Liberty returns. Hey, I haven't seen you on a live in a while. Glad that you're back. Is it true that they're going to do 40-year mortgages instead of fixing the housing market? Dude, you're like so funny with your questions. So a couple of things with that. So that is what their plan is, right? Maybe longer term mortgages to fix the housing market. Guys, there's so many reasons that the housing market is so competitive right now. And 40-year mortgages just help affordability, okay? They're not what's wrong with the housing market. So do people ask you about the housing market on a regular basis?
They do. Same question, 40 years. I feel like this is everybody ongoing. So I'm thinking, okay, like you said, affordability, that's all that it is. Because the longer you extend it, the lower the payment's going to be. With 30-year mortgages, it's still good. Interest rates are still low, but with housing rising just a tad bit, significantly, you got to get a little bit more creative. But I don't know, if you're seeing 40-year mortgages just yet.
So here's the thing. Nothing has rolled out with Fannie or Freddie yet, but they did elect somebody who is very conscientious of affordable housing issues. And, as opposed to doing shorter term ARMs, something has to happen because, quite frankly, there isn't going to be a big enough event in the near future to bring home values down. So a lot of the news media right now is talking about how appreciation is lowering, and it has a lot of people confused about the direction of housing, right? So they hear housing appreciation is going down, and they automatically assume housing value. In fact, I think actually a lot of news reporters get this wrong too. So just so you guys are on the same page with us, appreciation is the future value of your home. And a stable market appreciates somewhere between 3 and 5%. A growing market, right? So something that you would want to buy in is anywhere between 7 to 10%, which it has been literally since the crash, right? So since 2011, excuse me, since the bottom of the crash. So you just have to know, like, we experienced like 30% appreciation in some areas in the valley, which is completely unsustainable. And if it keeps going in that direction, people won't be able to afford homes. Now, they've already said that it's probably going to be likely like 0.3 to 0.5%. So not a whole percent every month. So if you think about like, you know, an area, and this is a national average, Arizona is one of the hottest markets in the entire country.
Yes.
So I do anticipate it to be higher than that national average, but that's still 6%, right? Or 5% in some cases. So you just want to be prepared that like it's still going up, not down.
It is. Mm-hmm. That is correct.
And so if interest rates are going up, prices are going up, the only thing that we can do to make it affordable, right, is extend the amortization, which does mean that people will pay more interest, you know what I mean? But I don't know that if so long as people have a fixed rate mortgage, if that's really going to collapse the housing market. So I know I think your question was meant to be funny, but that was my very long-winded answer to it. Okay. Oh my goodness. Yay, Unique J. I love you. So for those of you guys who ever wonder about the little lizards, so that was a nickname given to me by Javier Vidana, the other, well, not the real estate YouTuber. He gave that to me a long time ago just to tease me. All right. So Devin Cahill says, Lizzie and guest, what metrics in terms of new housing permits / active MLS inventory do you personally follow to see where the market is going? Okay, so I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to acknowledge the super chat from Darren Buttery. I love Darren, guys. We should all just give him so much love and support. He's literally such a long-term supporter of the channel, of me, and just an overall amazing human being. I'm glad that you're doing better, getting healthier, donating $1 for every pound you've lost in the last 14 days. Dude, congratulations. That makes me so happy. Congratulations. All right, to get back to Devin's question. So what I typically follow, so I follow two different subscription sites. One is called Mortgage News Daily, and the other is MBS Highway, which tracks mortgage-backed securities. I also subscribe to Housing Wire, and then there is a local inventory report called the Cromford Report.
That's the one I follow as well. The Cromford Report, mainly. That's what I basically use.
But you also work for Steve Trang, right?
Exactly. So I do work for Steve Trang, Stunning Homes Realty, and so we get a lot of information. Once a month we meet at the office and we talk about what direction it's going. And I feel that newer housing, new builds are starting to slow down just a tad bit, but more houses, resales coming back on the market. So right now, up to date, I just checked it yesterday, there are more active listings today versus like back
a year ago.
A year ago for sure, a year ago. So there's definitely more inventory out there.
Okay, and so that is awesome. So one thing you guys have to consider, so when she talks about more inventory, one thing I want to put into perspective is that we're still down 13% in overall inventory.
Yes.
So it is nowhere near a buyer's market, guys. And so I just, you hear these things like more inventory, and we want you guys to be positive, but I also want you guys to be realistic. So if you guys are in Arizona, so Devin, I don't know if you're in Arizona, but if you are, Cromford Report also has a public report that you can download through Arizona State University. Okay. AW says, I'm under contract. Underwriter gave a conditional approval on a loan. I have about 15 in my account and need 10K total cash to close. I have a family member that needs a gift. Is this okay? I'm going to say no. I don't think that that's enough of a cushion for you to just give away. Lots of things happen. And your loan isn't just based on like your cash to close. It's actually also based on the amount of reserves that are needed to qualify your loan. And you never want to mess that up, right? So I would say give them the gift after you close. I know that's not probably the answer you wanted. Okay. Shadolama says, I see lots of scary videos advocating for people to save 20% to avoid PMI and pay $60 for our we pay $60 for our PMI. Seems strange to save upwards of $40,000 to save $700 a year. Did PMI used to be more or different? So PMI is actually based on credit, debt to income ratio, numbers of buyers in a home. And so it can actually range quite a bit per client. And so the 20% used to be a thing of the past because you used to not be able to buy a home without 20%. Right. And mortgage insurance definitely was more expensive. And a lot of financial people are like, why would you waste your money on mortgage insurance? Now, the thing is, if you do not here's one of the arguments against that, though, because I know I do have quite a few Dave Ramsey lovers on this call. The issue with not entering into the market is that you're still paying for housing. So it's not that you're not paying for a mortgage, you just happen to be paying someone else's. Mm-hmm. And so rents fluctuate. And they're going upwards of like 12 to 14% a year, depending on where you live. And so you can't fix those costs. And so you would have missed out, like, let's say you were somebody who could have bought, and you didn't buy this year, you would have missed out on like 30% appreciation. If you were somebody that took the plunge, even with 5%, you have literally the 20% equity that you would need to remove your mortgage insurance. Mm-hmm. So your math is correct. It doesn't always work out that way for some people, though. Some people are paying like a couple $100 in mortgage insurance, and that's not ideal.
Right. Yeah, I've seen it too.
How did you buy your first house?
So I had to put 3.5 down, FHA.
Okay. And she's a real estate agent, so this is why I ask.
I was only 21 when I first bought a house, and so
That's
3.5
awesome.
down. Interest rate was like 7% at that time. And right now we're just like, oh my gosh, if it goes up to 4.25, we're just like, oh my gosh, that's so high. But I paid 7 when I first started. So I had to put my own money down. Closing costs I had to pay for. It was just something that you have to save for. But yeah.
So one thing I will tell you about, like, when people give you stories of yesteryear regarding interest rates, one fun fact, guys, is, believe it or not, because interest rates are historically low and mortgage insurance is actually also historically low, it's actually technically more affordable in this market with increased prices and people's salaries increasing versus what it was percentage wise and payment wise and income wise in the boom. So I just want you guys to be aware. We were like, I'm probably going to butcher this. I recorded a video on this. I'll probably link up after we shut this live down. But I think it's like 4% difference in affordability between markets. And so it's at least 2. So that's another indicator, though, that this is a much stronger market than the last.
So I got a question for that again,
yes.
for PMI. So I have people saying once, I pay it down or I appreciate up to 80% of what I paid for it. Does PMI get removed? It used to, but not anymore, correct?
Kind of. So this is a common misconception.
Yes.
Thank you for asking
Yes.
this. So if you paid down your mortgage and you have a conventional loan, you can request to remove your insurance once you've paid it down to 80% of the purchase price. Okay.
Of the purchase price.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, note, I said you have to request it. It doesn't automatically come down until you have 22% equity. This is like one of those things that you have to know about. And I'm not sure why they do this. I don't make up mortgage rules, guys. I just know it and I'm educating you. Okay. So this is something to know. But here's another fun fact. If you get 25% equity based on appreciation and have paid your mortgage for 2 years and have a conventional loan, most mortgage insurance companies will allow you to terminate. You do want to check this with your loan officer. After 2 years of payments, 25% equity. Okay.
Nice.
So a lot of people bought a home 2 years ago can actually already remove their mortgage insurance without a refinance. Now, you should ask your servicer this before you do a refinance. And we always recommend this to our past clients, but for those of you who aren't, you should definitely look into this. Refinances are really costly, and if the only reason you're going to do it is to remove the mortgage insurance, this is an option to check. Now, if you do have an FHA loan, the minimum amount of time is 11 years with 10% down, I think. I'm gonna double check that. Maybe Google that. We don't do a lot of FHA loans with large down payments. But if you're doing minimum down, it's life of the loan. So just know that that is the type of loan that you would have to refinance.
Got it.
Okay, so Jen has a question for you about Casa Grande.
Perfect.
Okay, so it says, "Hi Claudia, love Casa Grande. I've stopped at the Dome Homes before visited the copper mine. Offbeat question, but have you ever been skydiving? A lot of my friends have done it there."
No, I have not.
Is that like a place to go skydiving?
Yes, that's the best place to go skydiving in Casa Grande. Casa Grande.
Well,
but I haven't been, Jenny.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just never go skydiving. You have 4 kids.
So.
What are you thinking?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So Jessie J says, "I want to sell a house, but I'm scared to find a new one. Is it possible to find a house in the 700 plus range after I sell and it all work out? I bought this home in 15 and it was a breeze to buy and sell." All right, give them your best tips for buying and selling, because it is crazy. This is one of the top questions I get asked as a loan officer when somebody has a house that is, that is qualifying subject to.
Correct. So this is what I tell you. Sit down with my sellers. You need to go find the house first. I help you find that house first, put it in offer, get it under contract. Once it's under contract and all negotiated, completely done, signed by seller, signed by you as a buyer, then we put your house on the market. Now, I would put your house on the market as a coming soon. I would put in the remarks that, you wouldn't close until you find yourself a home. I could put a contingency in there of 15 to 30 days. And because the buyer is willing to wait right now, they'll take it. They'll wait until you find yourself a home and make sure that it is at least past appraisal until you set an actual closing date. So
you would list your house first.
Well, put your house on the market as coming soon. I wouldn't list it because I know it's going to sell fast. So we would put it up as coming soon, okay? To create that demand, to let the other agent know if you're going to be buying a resale home.
So this is a really interesting strategy, guys. Sorry not to cut you off,
okay.
but this is the first time I've heard this. And honestly, I think it's brilliant. And for those of you guys who own a home right now, or are in searching for a home, ask your real estate agents to check the coming soons. So this is a really great strategy. Most agents don't even show coming soons to their clients, right? Because they're not technically on the market. So this is something where an experienced agent really comes into, show their value. But this is a great strategy. So she's saying, go find your house right now, and put your house on a coming soon basis. Start collecting your offers. Let them know that you are actively looking for a house so that you can have better negotiation terms. I think that is super huge.
Yes.
But what would you tell them on the buy side? Because I think that's really challenging.
So on the buy side, and I've done this before, talk to that seller again if it's a resale. Talking to the seller and saying, hey, I have this buyer showing your pre-approval, possibly showing funds to close if you're going to put a large down payment aside from your sale, right? And so send that over to them. Talking to the other side is very, very important. Again, having that experience there and talking to the other agent, knowing what to say, what to negotiate on your behalf as you are becoming a buyer and a seller at the same time is super important. So I would tell them their house is going to sell. It's already coming soon. I have 5 to 10 interested buyers. I'm not going to have an issue selling it. It's priced just right. It's not gonna sit. It's going to sell. It's going to be under contract if you accept their offer.
So here's another strategy just to give you like an opposite version of that. I have seen a lot of agents, in fact, I'm pretty sure I've seen you do this, where you actually list the house for sale first and then tell them that if the home doesn't sell by a certain date, that the contract cancels, right? So it gives the client the advantage of like having security to stay in their property while they search for a home, right? But then also shows the seller of the house that they're buying that they're already under contract. So this Correct. Is another strategy, but but you know your area best and you know what's working right now. And so it's so good for you guys to know multiple strategies. One thing that I would maybe also recommend to you, Jessie, is is there a way for you to qualify with both payments and maybe just do a lower down payment at first? So a lot of times people can income qualify, but it's the assets that stop them. And so a couple things you can look into is a bridge loan, number one, which is a short-term loan that sucks the equity from the house you're selling and allows you to put it down on your house for a down payment. The other thing that you can look into is like a first and a second mortgage, right? Where you're only putting like 10% down. And then let's say you can do a 10% down mortgage, just one. You can either pay off that second mortgage or you could do a principal reduction, right? And then ask them to recast your loan so that it's like what your loan would be if you always had that large of a down payment. So another like alternative strategy, but you've heard like three really like different and great ways to be competitive in the marketplace right now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, love it. How long can I wait with my house under contract until I find a home?
How long? And okay.
I mean, it just depends on how long you've negotiated it.
Yeah. So I've done up to 30 days. I've done some up to 90 days, and buyers are waiting. They're waiting.
Honestly, guys, I had one client get under contract in December and not close until April, right? Because they were waiting for my seller's new build to finish being built. So you would be so super surprised.
Yes.
You know, how long somebody's willing to wait. This is the type of market, because of limited inventory, you know, that people are more flexible, which is also why, like, one of Claudia's superpowers is networking and building up relationship and rapport with the other side. You know, it pays to work with somebody experienced in this market. Okay, so Abe says, I put 3 offers on 3 different homes. None of the sellers wanted to go under contract with me unless I was either on the market or under contract.
Okay, so let's see. With that, I've done it where it's coming soon and not actually active on the market. And again, you have to have that agent speak on your behalf to that other seller's agent. Again, you're not going to take a long time to sell your house, so I don't see why they didn't take it unless, you know, they had other offers that were not contingent upon selling. But again, they have to say, put on there, coming soon, show the other agent that your listing is coming soon, that your house is coming soon on the market, and then, you know, again, negotiate everything else on your behalf. But yeah, I've done that before. Again, it must be that they have other offers, because I've gotten
It's probably
accepted.
other offers, right? So there's
so.
that. But also it could just be like, I can't even tell you how many times agents just submit offers without even calling the listing side, without even trying to find out what the sellers are looking for in terms of negotiation. But let's say your house is under contract. A couple of other things too that I didn't mention is Claudia works with Steve Trang. So if you guys are familiar with him at all, he is like part of Real Estate Disruptors, and they work with a humongous network of investors. So one of the other things that she can offer you as a real estate agent is a cash offer on your home. Right? So like, this is also something that you can take and say, hey,
Yes.
I already have a cash offer on this home. So just also, again, like I said, you want to interview your realtors, you want to interview the strategies, and it's tough right now, but it isn't impossible to get a deal done. All right, so Fire Channel 44 says, what's the best way I can attract people to buying a home? How do I create buzz around it? Is there a Facebook group of realtors or an ad in the newspaper? Fire Channel, I'm not sure where you live in the country, but like, honestly, a sign in your yard will sell your house right now. Like, I mean, it is crazy. I mean, seriously, just getting it on the MLS. In this market, I don't think it's that, you know,
It's not gonna
tough, but in yesteryears, like 2018, we used to do broker opens, coming soons. We used to do a lot of social media advertisement to, you know, letting people know that a property was for sale, and then building up a bunch of hype for like a one-day open house. So that's like one thing that you might consider. All right. So Julie says, love that you brought up bridge loans. There are so many options out there to strengthen the buyer side without risking turning down good offers on the seller side. And guys,
Yes.
she is like the queen of this. I want to just mention what's so interesting. So a lot of times you guys have been on this live and people are like, oh my God, I can't get anything accepted with an FHA loan or a VA loan. Claudia's amazing because she never turns away from a buyer, but neither does Julie. And sometimes people have this whole like mindset that you will not get an offer accepted if you're using any type of government funding. And both of these ladies are perfect examples of how you can get a bunch of business closed if you work with the right real estate agent who's willing to make those connections for you and show your strength. Like, you know, when she was talking about earlier about showing buyers funds, like she does that on all files, not just the jumbo ones.
Right.
And Julie like gets, I mean, the most VA buyers I've ever seen of anyone in Arizona, period, hands down. She's getting those offers accepted left and right because she's an awesome agent. So just a plug for both of you guys. I love you guys so much.
Love you too.
All right. So Darren says, I'm considering putting my house on the market next April. Do you think we'll still be in a seller's market spring of 2022? I do. I think that unfortunately we're pre-position. I don't know. This is where my no gallus vocabulary comes in. So because of the limited inventory and the number of new family creations a year, it looks like we're going to be in a seller's market at minimum for the next 2 to 3 years. Now, It takes time for a market to shift. So just so you know, and I'm comparing this literally to the worst market in history. So I do not think that we're going to have a housing catastrophe, but the housing crash, the previous one, started in the last quarter of 2005, and it actually started, like the shift started in May, actually, of 2005. And we didn't start talking about it until the end of 2007. We officially called it a crash in 2008, and the bottom of the market was 2011. So it takes a long time, guys, for the housing market to change in a significant way.
Right.
All right. So thoughts on trying to buy a single family dwelling rental 1 to 3 years near the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co-Plant and Carefree-ish. Second generation native Lizzie. Oh, Devin, cool, man. I love that.
Neat.
All right. So what are your thoughts on that? Because that was a mouthful.
Long-term investor. Okay, so yes, I've
don't even know where this is.
That. Yeah, I've learned about that. I've had other buyers ask me about this.
Okay.
I think it would be a great time to buy right now. Again, still because interest rates are still low, right? Mm-hmm. And so once this plant is up and running, I don't see why your house wouldn't be worth a lot more than what you're going to purchase it nowadays.
So Devin, here's the deal, because I'm hoping, so we don't have a live next week because of the Thanksgiving holiday, but the following one, I'm going to have a much better answer to this question because I don't know why that specific semiconductor. I don't know if it's new to the area, if you feel that a lot of people are going to be, working and relocating there. I think that anytime you know of commercial infrastructure that's bringing a lot of, employees to an area, it definitely makes sense to buy a rental within like a couple mile radius. Mm-hmm. Now, the objection to that, though, is like what kind of environmental issues will people not like when you're going to sell it, right? So renters don't care as much as like when you go to resell it. So those are just things that you'll want to consider.
Right.
Darren Buttery asks me about the silver tsunami. So yes, so if you're a long-term fan of this channel, people ask me when I think the next housing crash will be. And I always explain to them that there has to be a significant event to cause a dramatic increase in inventory. And, not to be morbid, but the only thing I can really think of is the fact that, baby boomers haven't been able to age out of their properties appropriately because of inflation. Number one, the cost of retirement is so crazy. Assisted living is so crazy, and it's actually cheaper to age in place. They own like 1 in 3 homes, or they did at least at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. And so if we're talking about increasing inventory in a meaningful way, it would be when they start to die or vacate their properties right away. And so if you Google the silver tsunami, it is definitely an economic event that a lot of people are worried about. A lot of us tinfoil hat people. So just know that you can Google it yourself. I do talk about it quite a bit. And it's just because I just don't see another thing that is going to increase inventory in a way that, supersedes the amount of new family creations.
Right.
Yeah. Now, funny thing though, also, because I'm like a nerd like this, so turns out millennials aren't having as many children as our baby boomers, and the Gen X generation. And so what's interesting is that 30 years from now, and thank God I will not be in mortgages 30 years from now, guys, I would literally be in my 80s, and that would be terrible, terrible. Oh my God. There looks like there will be another economic event then, because quite frankly, we will not have enough new family creations for the amount of housing inventory. So, like, there always are corrections, guys, and these things are really Googleable. And if you're a nerd like me and find it interesting, you can research it. Okay. So thanks. Seems like some of my neighbors get millions of offers, sell over asking, and some do not. Why is this happening? I thought maybe what they were doing was special. I mean, so here's...
I'm like, I know.
Yeah. Do you want to answer this?
I kind of know why.
Yeah, no, answer. Yes, girl.
So what we do is, again, you talked about Steve, real estate disruptors, right? And so we do have investors that buy cash. And so what we do is go in and look to see who has owned their house for a longer amount of time and owe a little bit less. So therefore, we're going to send a letter to them, a phone call to them, a text to them. Hey, are you interested in selling? Versus the neighbor that just got the house maybe 2 years ago that doesn't have enough equity in it, that maybe can't sell at the time. Or, but they will. However, they do have the equity. I take that back. But not enough, like possibly the neighbor that's been there for like 20 years,
So I think that right now, like the biggest difference is how people price their homes. So just so you guys know, how people price your home and how the market reacts to your property within the first like 24 to 48 hours will dictate the direction of how that listing goes. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of sellers who are like, oh my God, I can get anything I want for the house. I literally had a client who wanted to sell his house, no shit, literally $100,000 over what it was worth. And he's like, well, I'm just going to get it. Everyone's getting $100,000. And I'm not his realtor and it's not my place. But I was like, okay, within reason, right? I mean, why would somebody are people paying $100,000 in your neighborhood over asking price? Or have you heard that a person paid $100,000 over asking price? And so that home has literally sat on the market. It's had 3 different offers on the house, obviously well below ask, and that home's going to sit there. And the thing is, what happens is then all of a sudden people have seen a house have housing drops and they're already worried that housing values are overpriced. Mm-hmm. And so then you kind of are like, what's wrong with that house? What's wrong with this? And so I do see lots of sellers mess up their own marketing because they get a little too excited about the potential equity that they might get.
Right. So we kind of got to bring them down. I tell them, okay, realistically, this is what it is. This is what you want. Let me show you. I've seen that too.
Yeah. So, I think also too, you have some agents that just really do not do photos well for properties. So like no joke.
I've seen that.
I literally just saw a listing, you guys. And the first photo was a super outdated kitchen. And then we're like, okay, well, maybe there's more photos to look at, right? And it was just the most odd, a picture of the garage. And it was just nothing. And I was like, okay, well, what's wrong? Is there a big hole in the side of the house? Why are there not more photos? But you would be surprised, honestly, the amount of inexperience and the amount of, and those are the same photos that get syndicated to a Zillow.
Right.
And in this marketplace, you really just want to work with people who really advocate for you, put the right marketing out there, understand the market, understand pricing, understand negotiation, right? So you don't give it all away and you maximize your investment. But I could go on forever.
Oh yeah.
All right. Biggest bang for my buck, exterior paint, kitchen remodel. I mean, if we're talking biggest bang for your buck, honestly, giving a house good curb appeal right now will cost you less than remodeling your kitchen. And again, like I said, because it's such a competitive market, I don't think a kitchen remodel is necessary. But
I don't think so.
You're the realtor.
Right. I don't think so either. I think just paint and curb appeal, just clean it up, declutter the inside, and don't go out and spend all this money on remodeling kitchens, bathrooms. None of the sort. Just declutter, paint, clean it up. It'll sell. It'll sell.
So the only time I would consider that is if you know that increasing the kitchen remodel will put it in a different price point. So it depends on the, your area, what's improved for your area, what's considered normal for your area, and if the cost of remodeling it will actually bring a significant return. Right. So sometimes I've seen people put like $12,000 into remodeling their kitchen and they're getting like $40,000 in return. So I mean, it just depends. And or where I've seen somebody like, remodel some bathrooms in a kitchen, right, cost $80,000, but they're getting a $200,000 to $300,000 return. And so you would be surprised. So that is something that you might want to consider talking to a real estate agent about your specific house.
Yeah, in the area for sure.
Okay, so what if an appraisal comes in short?
So if an appraisal comes in short.
No, like what do you do as a realtor?
It can happen. It has.
It can and does happen frequently.
Yeah, you have to, again, set that, ahead of time. Check your comparables. You got to make sure that your agent is checking comparables in the area. So one, if it comes in low, right, you're the seller. And you're, the agent, and I'm talking to you, hey, look, I'm going to send you a full price offer. However, I see that other houses in the area have sold for $20,000 below. Is your seller going to be realistic in dropping the price in the event that happens? So depending on what they respond, then if you should send an offer to that seller or not, to see how realistic they are. The other thing is that what I've been doing lately is coaching my buyers where in case the appraisal comes in low, you have to have a cushion. You have to come in with just a tad bit more. So you can offer the seller, look, your house didn't appraise, but I'm willing still to give you $5,000 overpriced, $10,000 out of pocket on top of what you are putting down. So I've been doing actually just that lately, where my buyers are saving up more and more money to be able to do so, to cover, the appraisal.
So a couple things. So just to recap what she's saying. So you don't always have to agree to pay the entire difference of whatever the appraised value came in and your purchase price. You can pre-negotiate into your contracts a cap, so a limit on what you're willing to pay. But the other thing is you can just straight up go and still negotiate. So one of my favorite things that Claudia does is that she straight up says, hey, the property did not appraise and we'd like to lower the price. I love that about her because she does it regardless of whether or not there's an appraisal waiver, because it's still negotiable. Everything is still negotiable. Just because you've agreed to waive your appraisal doesn't mean you still have to buy the property. It just means you forfeit your earnest money. And so you still have some negotiation ability in these things. And so what I love about an agent like Claudia is that they will really work hard to learn all of your different ways. Okay. Now, from a lending perspective here, when your property doesn't appraise, it can have multiple impacts to your loan. So, right, it changes your loan to value automatically. So we base loan to value, so the loan amount based on your purchase price or the appraised value, whatever is less. Okay, so what's important to know there is that if you're putting 20% down and the property doesn't come in, there's a likelihood that you'll pay mortgage insurance, right? So it's going to change your monthly payments. It could impact your interest rate. And so it's super important to know, but there's so much flexibility and loan structure. And, in a market where, again, like we said, anywhere between around 5 to 10% appreciation, right? You really want to look at whether or not that low appraisal is a, deal breaker or not for you. And if you're willing to just, restructure your loan accordingly. So just know you have so many options when that happens. Guys, we are getting to the top of the hour, and it would really mean a lot to me if you guys like this live right now. And also subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. So please go ahead and hit that like button for me, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, so Gabby says, how important is it for me to use my real estate agent's lender? Does it help the process? And I will not answer this question. I'm going to be not biased.
For me, it is. It's important only because, again, negotiations. It's better to know who you're working with. You know that they're going to get the deal done, and so it helps me let the seller's agent know, hey, I've worked with this lender for so long. They close my deals. If I have an approval for you, it's going to close. So it's important that you actually let your agent kind of guide you in that way with somebody that they've worked with before, because we know that we're going to get this across the finish line. Other times I've used other lenders that are out of state, always cancel. They always cancel. So that, yeah, it can impact your offer. It can impact on how you work with your agent for sure. So, yeah.
So, Claudia and I have worked together for a really long time. So I'm not going to give pros for why you should, but just one additional thing to add is, because we have so much experience working together, we can troubleshoot things together really well. And so it just gives the client experience. It just makes the client experience better. Buying a home is like the second most stressful event in your life, mm-hmm. and you just want to make sure that all players involved understand the assignment. I'm such a millennial, or whatever that is. Okay, guys. I literally forgot. I literally forgot to read any of the questions that were asked of me. Oh my God, I super suck. All right, so let's say, does DPA cover everything? Let's do rapid fire.
Okay, cover everything. It covers your down payment, but it doesn't cover your closing costs. So you still got to save for closing costs.
Yep, and in some cases, it doesn't even cover all of your down payment. That's great. I'm glad you know that. Okay, do you have to refinance your home if it's worth more than 20% based on the value? I think I answered that earlier. So the answer is no, not necessarily to remove your PMI, is I'm assuming what you wanted to know. Go listen to the chat earlier on. Okay, let's see here. What's the difference between homeowners insurance and mortgage insurance?
Homeowners insurance covers your actual house, the actual structure. So in case of a fire, homeowners insurance will cover to rebuild whatever was, burnt or, that needs to be replaced or anything like that. Homeowners, mortgage insurance?
Homeowners insurance protects your property. Mm-hmm. Mortgage insurance protects the bank against your default.
Yep. So the loan, right?
Yep. So loan. Yeah. You foreclose, we collect some insurance money to help us repay the debt. Okay. Maximum conforming loan limit, guys, in Arizona right now is $548,250. However, a lot of lenders are lending at $625,000. The official numbers come out at the end of the month, and you betcha I'm going to have a video about it. Okay, so let's see. Should they shop for a home loan before they start looking at properties?
Yes, absolutely. That's the first thing that you want to do. It's completely opposite as buying a vehicle. Definitely get your mortgage loan first. You will know your max purchase price, your payments. Beforehand, me as a real estate agent, I will know if you're qualified FHA, conventional, VA. Therefore, I will I will show you the houses that qualify VA, FHA, conventional, because not all of them do. So yes, do it.
Okay, that is a super good thing that I've never even thought of. Yes, not everyone qualifies for every single type of loan, and not every property qualifies for every single type of loan. So another benefit of getting pre-approved and pre-qualified before you actually start searching for real estate. The other thing is that I think most clients have no idea what the true cost is of a down payment, closing costs, and reserves. And in order to be a successful home buyer, you need to understand what this costs. And I think that finances are so super intimidating. And sometimes the first time someone's ever even looked at their finances is when they get qualified for a home. So I think that, anywhere between 6 to 12 months prior to is when you should actually start understanding what you'll qualify for, how to best optimize your interest rate, your credit score, all the things.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. Is it a good idea to pay for your closing costs with your credit card?
Absolutely not. No. Do not use your credit card.
What are your what are the do's and don'ts of that as a real estate agent, and then I'm going to hammer them home?
Oh yeah, for sure. So every time somebody meets with me, do not go out and charge your credit card. Do not switch jobs. Do not run your credit. No saving 10% on Amazon, JCPenney,
Spencer's
Costco,
Appliances.
anything. You do not run your credit card when you start the process until we hand you keys and it completely done and closed with your loan, right?
And why is that?
Because it'll mess everything up. The lender will check your credit one more time. And if you incurred any new debt, it will change all your numbers and you'll start all over. You'll cancel. You'll either have to wait a full week, 2 weeks, however long, or it'll completely cancel.
So Claudia and I have been through some doozies together. This is why I'm teasing her, because we have been through some doozies. So here's the deal, guys. So we qualify you based on a snapshot in the past. So that's either, it could be upwards of like 90 days in the past. And so because of that, we monitor your credit to make sure that one, you're not maxing out your debts, you're still paying everything on time, and you haven't opened up any new liabilities that will change your debt to income ratio. It's so important that you know this as a buyer because you get so excited. All of a sudden you start picturing where the new couch is going to go, the new dishwasher, you want to start improving the refrigerator, and you get so many deals, guys. You walk into Home Depot and they're like 0% interest.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's not going to impact your home loan. It impacts your home loan. Look, and I also understand that sometimes there are things that happen that prevent you. Like if your car breaks down and you need a car to get to work, obviously we're going to have to talk about what that looks like, right? So I get that. But if it can be avoided, why add the additional stress? So when those things happen, just realize we won't have to repull your credit. If your FICO score went down, it could impact your overall interest rate and the mortgage insurance. It could even impact the type of loan that you qualify for. Okay. The other thing is too, it's like people who switch jobs. We also base it on a consistent and stable form of income. And if you do anything to disrupt that, like, get, a lower base and higher commission, it's hard for us to average if that's going to be a stable monthly income for you. So just know that like job changes, credit changes, they can really add a lot of stress and actually prevent you from qualifying. And we've just been through a doozy, so this is top of mind for the both of us. So do not finance any new debt. Do not change your jobs. Also be aware that when you apply for a home loan, your old creditors, and I'm talking about like Blockbuster Video and Columbia House CDs,
Finger hut.
if you're our age, they will come back, guys. And I swear to God, they are collecting now. Like your medical bills, the collectors monitor your credit too. And when they see that you have an inquiry for a new home loan, they will instantaneously send you out a bill. It's super important that you pay those things, right? And you do not ignore them, because if you get a new collection on your credit report, that could lower your credit anywhere between like 30 to 50 points, depending on how recent, how new it is, how big it is. So you just really want to pay attention to that. It's a pretty big deal. Okay. I think I hammered that home.
I'm like, absolutely. You did
gonna
great.
hop off my soapbox. Okay, guys, I love and appreciate you guys. We just hit 7:01, so because it's like the week before Thanksgiving, I do just want to, and just in general, guys, thank you so much for supporting this channel. You guys are incredible. I honestly never ever thought of myself as someone who would do YouTube. I'm so nerdy and very conservative, and this journey has been super fun. I've definitely grown out of my shell. Like if you watch the previous videos, I'm like, let me give you 5 tips about money.
Just like me right now. I'm just like, what?
No, you're not. Girl, no, you are not.
Can I answer that correctly?
No, and it's been so fun, that you guys have been on this journey with me, like growing the channel, supporting my business, and I could not say enough thank yous for all of your guys' support. So just know from the bottom of my heart, I wish you guys the absolute best holiday season. I wish you the absolute best Thanksgiving with your families if you celebrate that, and just know that there's a lot of part of me that is so super grateful and be thinking about you guys over the holidays. So love you guys so much, man.
We love you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Padifa. Alrighty, guys. Until next time, don't forget to email in your questions. I swear I won't forget. Tune into these lives every Wednesday at 6 p.m.